Dude, I know we covered Paris already. Do you think the citizens need guns? I swear every time... I'm pro-gun. I'm pro-gun, I am.
No.
But every time I hear like, oh, was there a school shooting? You know what the problem was? The other kids didn't have rifles.
I don't think there's ever been there's very few situations even in the U.S. like where we have pretty lax gun laws where like there's been a shooting and somebody has actually stopped that, and I'd love sources with their concealed firearm.
Texas.
Like, I mean Texas. Okay, sure.
Shootings where someone is stopped don't become mass shootings, though.
Right, and I'm saying that while those might not make the news, and I'd love to see that, there's very few times where, like in that instance, like you're not carrying a weapon into the theater. Like that's just not allowed into the theater pretty much anywhere anyway, so that wouldn't have helped the situation. But on the side of the cafe, maybe in Texas or maybe in some other place, somebody might have had a gun, but realistically, there's a lot more to stopping it than just owning the gun. Like you have to have the brass and the like the go ahead to actually use it in that situation. So I think that
there are for people who don't know, in America, most of the places that there's crowds, you're not allowed to bring your gun. So you can't bring it into a school. You can't bring it into a place that serves alcohol. That varies by state. Yeah, you can't bring it into any place that sells tickets. For the most part, that includes movies, sports events, concerts, things like that.
Public gatherings.
They just
I don't know if that's a North Carolina thing, but these general rule of thumbs fit most states, you know, or they're pretty close. And a lot of the mass shootings that happen in those places where you can't bring your gun, so that's going to lower it. It's not. Gun people like to say, "Oh, they do it in movie theaters because you can't bring guns there." No, I think there's just an overlap. They do it in places where there's lots of people, and there tend to be laws against bringing guns to lots of people.
Right, exactly. So I'm saying, like, and that's kind of, I don't really have a hard stance on either of the way. Like, sure, I'm happy to allow anybody to have guns. I love shooting guns, like, in a range. It's awesome, and I see both sides of the story here. But at the same time, like, having concealed carry in a school would probably terrify me just for the fact that I know there's that one fucker, you know, that one dude who's going to mess it up for everybody else. And then you go back to where we are right now, where it's like, no, we shouldn't have it in there. So, like, I don't think everybody being allowed to concealed carry or, like, at least have weapons around their person would have changed the event.
I don't think, you know, 2 people killed 89 in that theater. I guess
I don't think it would have
call it a theater, amphitheater.
I don't think it would have helped. You know, like I don't think
that's
any.
That's the shit you can't get away with if there's 2 guns in the audience. You know, like.
But how are the guns the guns aren't going to be in the audience is the thing, because like they're not going to be allowed into that space. It's like bringing.
This is a hypothetical, right? They're hardly allowed in the whole country, but let's say that concealed carry people have their guns with them a lot, more than some people might guess, and. You know, out of those 89 people, if that was in North Carolina, there'd be...
Maybe 20. Maybe 20 got killed.
That's high-ish. But 10... Oh, killed. I'm saying, but there might be 10 guns out there. You know,
right.
If
so
it's
what
here.
I'm saying is, like, maybe it could have an impact. Maybe. I mean, if all those laws were lax for it, you'd have to look at the...
I just recognize how crazy it sounds on the surface. Like, oh, shootings need more guns. But...
The bad guys who want guns clearly can get them, right? Because there were some bad guys in Paris who wanted some guns, and they got them.
You can get guns
obviously.
No matter what.
And it's not like they didn't have like double-barreled shotguns. You know, like in the Guy Ritchie movie, they make fun of the fact that guns are hard to get in England, and so they got these shitty, ridiculous guns that are almost comic. They are literally comical. The guns they have to bring to bear, but. In this case, like these guys got AK-47s, they got pump shotguns, and they got plenty, clearly, of ammunition for both of them. I mean, the bad guys who want guns are getting guns, so why not reduce? At least make it so that if you're a citizen who wants to go take a course, make it a 6-week training course if you want to. I don't fucking care. By the time it's over, like have the civilian be a better shot than those cops who were running away. But I don't know. I know that. I
don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I don't think that there's anything that's going to be gained from it or lost from it. Like, it's just a thing that could happen.
I want to correct Kyle on something. They were French. Those cops were surrendering.
They came back.
I'm not co-signing.
co-sign on that either.
It's a joke.
Because it's
offensive. The thing about more guns making everything safer probably isn't always true. But sometimes I think, like if you go on a purely anecdotal basis, many times it seems like, well, what if that guy right there had a gun? What if that guy had a gun? If that guy had a gun, or that guy, or any of those guys who are now dying had guns, I feel like they'd be shooting back. And I've never been shot at, but I can only guess that being shot at is fucking terrifying. And if you shot back at the asshole who thinks he's there to take out some sheep, maybe he pisses his pants and runs for his life. You know, you never know.
Takes cover, etc. Yeah.
I think that the issue is that the what ifs that are involved, like what if this dude had a gun and also was not too afraid to use it. And
well, there's
also,
lots of instances of it happening. I know they don't make the news, but like I follow a few guns rights advocacy groups on social media and stuff, and they, of course, are quick to point out the instances where concealed carry saves the day. And there's one every other day, like a high-profile-ish one by the standards of like non-mainstream media, like never talking about these things happening. You see a lot of time. The 13-year-old kid the other day killed one home intruder, ran the other away. But there's lots of times when a guy pulls out a gun at a gas station, tries to rob a bank, something like that, and some dude who's just going about his day shoots the guy in the back, and it's game over, and nobody gets hurt except for the bad guy, the robber, the rapist, the murderer, the guy who's committing the crime.
I just wish, as is the case with a lot of the things that I'm not like for or against, I just wish that there was something. You know, if there was going to be an argument to be made that everybody should be allowed to at least carry or have the opportunity to take courses to be validated for a carry license, open or concealed otherwise, I just wish that there was whoever was presenting this argument would be able to present it with a massive data proving that this caused more or helped more than it caused, and that doesn't happen as much as it should.
It's easy to find accurate data on lots of things. You can find out data about diseases. You can find data about cars.
Definitely.
Finding data about gun crime is virtually impossible because both of the data collecting, both sides are collecting data and both sides have an agenda. So you really got to apply common sense at times. Is it a good idea for every elementary school teacher to be packing heat? Well, if they went through a 6-week course and they're a competent adult who's passed a few tests, then maybe so. Do you want to hand one out to everybody? Abso-fucking-lutely not. A person who's trying to do good and doesn't know how to use a gun is almost as dangerous as a person who's trying to do evil and does know how to use the gun. You know what I mean? You don't want some amateur shooter like, don't worry, I'll get him. Bang! Ah, you got me! I'm so sorry! Bang! Ah, you got me!
So let's say you've got a teacher and he's at a violent school, right? Let's establish that. Let's say that some schools have more violence than others, and this is one of the bad ones.
Sure.
And now that you know that the teachers are armed, or at least you see the same guy every day, you know which teachers have guns. I feel like it might be dangerous in the same way that giving a prison guard a gun is dangerous, right? Prison guards have batons, and when they need real backup, those guys come in.
You don't know that the teacher has the gun, though. It should be a concealed carry thing.
I feel like I would.
I think they would figure it out eventually.
I feel like
I'd
almost
put a target on their back where it's like, shoot me. What are you going to do? Shoot me.
Yeah, shoot me first, and then once I'm down, everybody's like, oh, fuck, the guy is down. We better do what this idiot who has the gun says.
If I sat in front of someone for an hour a day, I think I'd know who was printing.
Who's printing?
Yeah, that's what the gun shows through in your pocket or your waistband or whatever. Yeah. I think I'd know who was printing.
This further backs up, like there's no definitive like thing that you can present to everybody and be like, look, here are the reasons why this is a beneficial thing. It's a lot of like, all right, so we're in this scenario and this happens. Wouldn't you want to be prepared? Yes, look, everybody wants to be prepared, but that's not almost ever the case. So like, yeah, it might save one, but it's just like
the people
need to do better.
The people that we do trust with guns, without a second thought, like security guards and police officers,
I don't even trust them with guns.
Why are they so fucking special that they get a gun? What did they do? Do these guys have law degrees? Did they have tactical firearms training, like a spec ops commando?
Issues.
No.
Most security guys don't get guns.
Let me tell you what cops have to do. You know what? To qualify for the police shooting qualification is at 7 yards. 7 yards. At 7 yards with my pistol, I will put every single round inside of a quarter every fucking time, just about. Like I feel comfortable shooting your fingernail off at 7 yards. It's so
Really?
close, and all they got to do is put them in a tin ring.
At
Yeah.
7 yards, I can hit a brake light every time, right? Think of how big that is on a car. That's what I'll hit every time. Every now and then, Kyle talks of like, hey, shoot an apple out of a hand. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's
a terrible idea.
Never shot an apple out of anyone's hand. I've shot a watermelon out of someone's hand before.
I don't think that that's a good example, though. Like, there's so many instances where, like, poorly trained or well-trained but, like, poorly executed instances where somebody pulls a gun and you're just like, I don't feel safe either around you or with your abuse of power of said weapon or the fact that you just can't aim that shit as well as I'd hope you could. Like, that's not a thing that's making me feel like, yeah, everybody should be able to, like, take this test. That makes me be like, fuck no. Like, we need to tighten up on this thing.
I agree. I think, well, the qualifications in many states for the concealed, like the test Woody took, I feel like is probably more stringent than what the North Carolina, like, sheriff's deputy has to do. I think they just slap a badge on his ass and hook him up with a Glock.
Like, please, aim.
But I mean, there's plenty of guys in law enforcement who are amazing shots, and they're tactical shooters, and they go to competitions and shoot 3-gun and all that stuff. I'm not saying that cops are just in general bad shots.
Oh, sure.
But like if you're a New York cop, like I happen to know that the Glocks that the New York cops carry have extra heavy trigger pulls because they were fucking accidentally shooting so many people. Like now the trigger pull in that Glock is like 5 or 6 pounds.
So now they're even less accurate.
More, I think.
Yeah, now they're like
trigger pull.
You ever have a dream where your punches are incredibly ineffective, or you can't pull the trigger of a pistol to shoot?
Yeah, there's like so slow. And like,
I don't have these
do
dreams.
anything.
I have a happy life. What are you guys up to?
So when I dream about getting in a gunfight, I'm shooting a monster or like bad guys or whatever it is, the trigger will never pull, no matter how hard I squeeze, and I'll get both fingers in the trigger guard and and it won't shoot. That's what I imagine these New York cops like. I mean, imagine like. Oh fuck! I missed again. Sorry, lady. It's like
he's already gone. You know.
Because remember all those reports back in the day? Like the guy would have an aluminum foil wrapped burrito, and they're like, "Drop the gun, huh? It's Chipotle!" Like, pow, 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 and they light him up with 30 rounds or something.
I looked it up. So it's a 12-pound trigger pull for the NYPD.
Jesus!
Yep.
I can't even lift that with my arm.
My first gun had a 7-pound trigger pull, which is kind of on the hard side. But if you're meant to carry it, typically you don't have a really light trigger pull, so it doesn't go all the time.
My AR-15's got a 2.5 or a 3-pound trigger.
I bet my LCP has a heavy trigger.
That's a whole workout to fire your clip. You would be tired after a clip, like your finger. You'd have to shake that thing out.
God, lefty's hard.
Yeah, that seems.
Wish I had a light pistol near me. I've been working on shooting with my feet. This one might
work. What is that segue? I need to go shooting more. I want to get my shot on and really experience the whole range of weaponry.
The LCP, which is my carry pistol, has a 5.5 to 6-pound trigger pull. So the NYPD has 12, and a lot of people say that it's responsible for their terrible accuracy. It's
probably
as you pull the trigger, squeeze the trigger, whatever. It just sort of knocks your gun off target. If it was really light, you'd be able to sort of take up the slack, and it breaks, and
you know when it's going to go off, and the more pressure you're applying, like you said, there's more torque that's going on. There's lots of reasons people push or pull or you can see how you're grouping, like what you're doing, like which one of the half dozen things you're doing wrong with the way you're holding the pistol and applying force to it. And there's multiple stances that apply to all that shit. But anyway, yeah, heavy trigger pull like that is not conducive to accuracy at all. In like sniper rifles, you'll see that the trigger pull gets very light to the point where it's 1 ounce and 1.5 ounces and stuff like that.
That's how I have one rifle that's accurate, and it's like that. It's got that super light trigger. I think it's
you wanted to go off before you know it, basically. Like when you start squeezing, it just kind of surprise you when it goes off.
Yep.
Yeah, 12-pound trigger pull. That's clearly something implemented by someone who knew nothing about guns at all.
Yeah,
even shooting double action on my gun is like 6.5 pounds, and that's a little unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can understand, like, if you try and squeeze something, like, your hand's gonna shake and that's gonna fuck it up. Like, that's just common sense, right?
These guys were accidentally shooting people all the time.
Now,
they were just sucky.
I wonder about that. Like, if it's going off, I guess I mean, you have to pull it from the holster for it to be going off, I guess.
You do.
So they were sitting there with their fingers on the trigger, pointing them at people, and accidentally pulling the trigger.
I can't name any specific circumstance, but for whatever but because of accidental discharges, they gave them extra heavy trigger pulls. And maybe that's because of the litigious nature of New Yorkers. Maybe it's because of a string of high-profile fuck-ups on their part, whether they shot a burrito guy or the gun went off on the sidewalk, ricocheted, and kneecapped some poor kid or something. Like, I couldn't say, but after a while, they really handicapped those guys. I feel like I would hate to have to defend myself with a 12-pound trigger pull on a Glock. I already hate the trigger pull on a Glock. I feel like a Glock isn't much of a pistol until you fix that trigger and get an aftermarket trigger in there.
It's better than the LCP in terms of trigger pull, I think.
Yes, the LCP is a real piece of shit when it comes to I'm not accurate with that in any sense of the word. Like, you have to be from between me and the television I'm looking at for me to be accurate with that motherfucker. I missed a juice box on my back porch one time, 5 yards away. It's just, it's so small that
and the sights are not very good.
Like this thing fits in my hand. It's perfect. That's right where I want everything to be. But this one is it's back here, and so my finger is having to do something like this to pull the trigger, some unnatural motion. The LCP in my head is I keep it in my jacket pocket, and I'm thinking I guess if the stab guy is trying to stab me and he's right here in my face, I can.
I don't think so. I think you're talking about a juice box. If you're talking about a chest-sized target, then you could hit.
As a skinny guy, he could juke me out real easy.
No,
the cartoons were pew pew.
The thing is, hold up that gun you had again. That's the kind of gun that most people say they carry but don't.
Yeah, well, actually, this was extra large, but yeah,
what is that? An M19.
No, this is a 1911 style, but the particular kind, it's a Kunan 357 Magnum 1911, so it's a lot bigger than the standard one. It's got its own custom magazine. It fires these big, sexy 357 Magnum rounds going 1,400 feet per second. Kill a deer with this.
I fired a 357 Magnum from a Magnum, and that hurt my wrist. But I was also 16. But it was just it was not a pleasant weapon to shoot at a shooting range. It was fun, but it was not something I was yeah, I'm just gonna totally carry this around on a day-to-day thing. It was not a.
Yeah.
You only need to hit once with it.
The carry pistols, I love them. I know. I feel like Kyle shoots more than me and has a different opinion. But I don't know how often Kyle carries, but I carry more often than a lot of people who say they do. And I feel like that's because I got a gun that's meant to be carried a lot and shot a little. And, you can put it in a pocket of your jeans.
Have you shot the Ruger LCR? It's that small
Kyle likes it.
revolver.
I like it. I like it a lot. Very light.
The 38 or 357, whatever you can get.
Let me grab what I like better than that, because it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. I got it right over here.
Because I'm thinking about buying one of those, because my current handgun is just way too big.
Buy it, definitely.
Yeah, I know Kyle likes it a lot.
I would love to go out and shoot some pistols again. Just ARs and stuff, would love to do it once, but pistols, there's such a range from a 22 to a 50 caliber bullet. There's such a different range of weaponry there. It's really satisfying to be able to take that a flight of guns and be this is the uses for every one of these.
There's a range in rifles too. A 50 cal is a whole different thing. Every time a 50 cal goes off, it's an event. Everyone all right, get ready. The 50 cal's getting to be cover your ear muffs. It's some sort of double cover. And then when it goes, there's a shock wave. When I shoot a 50 cal, it's on a bipod in the grass. I've done it a couple times. It's always been that. There's a shock wave, and the grass all folds over in front of the gun and stands up again. So cool. I feel like there's a spectrum of rifles too.
No, there is.
My brother's got a 50 cal muzzle loader, black powder rifle that we shoot sometimes, when we're on the farm, and it's such a bitch to get that thing down in there, because it's so tight when you're trying to pack it in that it's this can't be how tight it's meant to be. It's yeah, just put it in there. You just have to cram it down. And when you shoot, they make the smokeless powder, but if you actually put the real black powder in there, it just a newfound appreciation for all the wars where that was used, where it was just bang and then just a cloud of thick smoke that you cannot see through at all.
It's so awesome.
What is that, Kyle?
So
the
this
LCR?
is this is the opposite end of the spectrum to the LCR. This is a Rossi 357 Magnum snub nose. So it's very heavy, much heavier than it looks. This gun is heavier than... It's much heavier than my Glock. It's heavier than my 9mm 1911 here. It's heavier than my HK45 here.
Is that because it's just like solid
It's
metal?
solid. I feel like I could hammer nails with this, but I feel like if I hit someone with it, I would completely incapacitate them. And I'd like to have that option because I don't want to fucking shoot you. I would love to be able to just bash you and get this thing over with. But if you did have to shoot somebody, you could shoot some nice 38s in here. Like, I don't know, I'm shooting 357s in there. I guess I meant business this day. And it'd be the recoil would be real controllable. Wouldn't be much at all. But even with a 357, it's going to, something like that. And I like 357. It's super powerful. It's not a 44 Magnum or something like that. But I like the idea of a pretty heavy caliber.
I like
Carrying
that
a
round
44
too.
is a little much. It seems like chill out. Like you don't need that.
Like maybe in your car. Like I got no problem with you carrying one in your car.
That's what my
It's a
grandpa
car
would
gun.
keep in his truck when he was a trucker. 6-shot 44 Magnum revolver when he was driving around in the.
Shit.
I made a video with a 44. We played Russian roulette with a watermelon, and if people want to know what a 44 is like, that was one, and the watermelon just blew up all over us. Yeah, it's the 44 is a
Crazy.
business gun, but they're fun. I don't have one. I would like to have a comically big pistol. Like I don't have any
Would
use
you
for
now?
it.
Deagle.
I got my 50 cal gold Deagle upstairs. I've got a 357 chrome Deagle I like too.
You could get one of those like Ruger Red Hawk hunting that's like 12-inch barrel,
Yeah, I know.
and so it's like to aim it, you're like steadying your hand.
Is it 50 cal? I
44 or 45 Colt or
maybe it's
So
a Smith and
why?
Wesson 500 I'm seeing, which is 50 cal, but they have that at my local gun store, and you see it in the display case, and it's bigger than my penis. It's like really big. And-
Well, there's a couple.
Swear to
50
God.
Caliber, there's a couple 50 caliber rounds. There's the 50 Action Express, and then there's the 500 Smith and Wesson.
That's the
Magnum.
one it is. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm just you're right. I should clarify.
Big,
But
quite a
that-
big difference.
And they're like $6 a shot. They're pretty expensive.
the Express is bigger, right?
No, the 500.
500.
Smith and Wesson 500 is bigger.
Well, the BMG is a rifle cartridge.
That's
and
the
it's,
rifle cartridge. It's all the same
it's what
size
that
and
gun
bullet,
shoots.
right?
Kind of see the
It's all the same
Yeah.
diameter.
right there. That's my
Is
50
it,
cal.
Yeah. Is it shaped the same, like the pistol and the rifle one? The rifle. I've never shot a 50 caliber rifle other than the ball bearing one that you shoot out of a black musket rifle. But
Do you have a round for that around? I do if you don't. Probably everyone's seen a 50 cal round. They're,
But the standard, like, big-ass fucking...
yeah.
Google image!
There's this.
Those things are like... When I saw that for the first time, when somebody, like, showed me, like, this is what a 50 caliber round is, and, like, how sizable it is, you just look at it like, how can any living creature get hit with this in center mass and do anything other than die? Like, the sheer... Like, isn't it true if it goes even by your head, you could die just from the shockwave of
I
it?
think
I think
that's
that was
untrue.
disproved, yeah.
But I will
Fuck.
say this. I wonder what would happen. You said any living thing, right? Like,
Right.
what happens
Like,
if you
look
shoot
at
a
that
blue
thing.
whale? You know, like,
Okay, you're right. But like,
Blue
look
whale,
at
it's
the
gonna
size
shrug it
of
off.
that.
would it? I don't know.
Is it though?
I think it would get stuck in like the 5 feet of blubber.
You're probably right because they don't go very far through water.
All right, well, let's take the blue whale out, and you're just shooting.
Yeah, but a killer whale, I think you might kill with it.
Kyle.
No.
Orca?
Shooting,
You don't think so?
What living animal could take a 50 caliber round to center mass and live?
50 BMG.
None of
Yeah,
them.
BMP.
Now,
No,
wait,
I-
have you considered blue whale?
Yeah. That's like a 200-foot
Well, all
animal,
right.
though.
So once, as it's jumping out of the water,
Yeah,
know,
you
if
shoot
I-
it.
Yeah, I could kill a blue whale, I guess. I
No.
don't think it wouldn't insta die, but
I don't
I
know.
really don't think
Because
so.
you've
I think that it
seen.
would get caught in the blubber.
Have you seen the Mythbusters where they shoot into the water?
Yeah,
I've
it only
shot one
goes
in
like
the
2
water.
inches.
Yeah, yeah. So what they do is for people who haven't seen it, they shoot different rounds into the water, like 9mm, 45, this, maybe a shotgun slug, etc. And none of them go quite as far. The movie myth they were testing is the people who swim away from bullets, and most of the bullets stopped in a to me, surprisingly small amount, like 18 inches was a long one. And then they shot the 50 cal, and I want to say it went less than a foot. Like it didn't travel far, and everyone
It had
was
so
like,
much mass that it just exploded on impact.
and I think the faster it went, like the bigger issue it had, right? Because water doesn't compress; it has to move out of the way. So the faster the bullet traveled, the less distance it went through the water. And 50 cal, and everyone was like, "Well, this is the one that's gonna go 12 feet through the water. Like this is ridiculous. Wait till you see it." And it went the other direction.
I feel like they could have tinkered with the ammo a little bit and gotten better results.
Sure, but it's still, I mean,
Those
it's not going to go
henchmen are shooting
20 feet
carefully
down there.
tinkered ammo at James Bond.
I wonder what the Mythbusters guys are gonna do next. You know, it's their last season.
Retire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're going on tour. Adam and Jamie, they're going on tour.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure they're done with Mythbusters, and they're going on like a country tour.
Mythbusters got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they gave them a year notice, and they're very excited about that. I keep reading over and over how happy they were. Most shows don't get noticed that they're getting canceled like that. They got a whole farewell season, so very cool.
They've been around for like how long?
Sons of Guns didn't get quite the exit. That's what you get for molesting your daughters, man.
You know, everyone's anti-pedo. No one takes the pro-pedo stance in these things.
I know, you're a lone wolf, Woody. A real pariah.
Jesus.
That's going to catch up with me someday, too.
Yeah,
Taking the
way
pro-pedo
too.
stance all the time. Be right there with the rape squad killer thing.
Oh, but back to what we're talking. The LCR I like a lot. I've got my sister's carrying that right now. I'd like to get it back from her, to be honest. But she went on a trip one time to like Panama City or something, and I was like, "Here, if you want to go and take this one, this seems right for you." It's hammerless, which I like. The hammer's not gonna get caught on your purse pulling it out. It's not gonna get caught on your pocket, your waistband, any of that shit. It's nice and smooth, so you can jerk it out and use it. It's light. It's really light, and
It's got a good trigger break. Like
I don't remember.
To,
I haven't shot it in a while.
A lot of times carry pistols have lousy triggers. It's like a thing. Like you don't want to accidentally shoot. So it's competition guns and stuff like that. Things that you don't carry that have the better triggers as a rule of thumb.
Makes sense.
So I don't know what the
double
LCR has.
I like double action weapons because I like both most of the time. Like the Glock is it's cocked and locked right now. It's ready to roll. There's nothing to cock. There's no safety.
I'll have you know, I play Counter-Strike,
ready to
and I
roll.
like the USPS. I like that silence USP, man. It's my favorite.
Yep.
That would surprise me. So before I ever shot a gun, I had watched decades of television about guns, and every time the woman on the helicopter has the gun, they're like, "Do you know how to use that thing?" And it's always like, "Do you know how to operate the safety and stuff like that?" And then early on, I had an interest in Glocks because I knew the name. I was very surprised to learn that whole safety thing is bullshit for a large swath of pistols out there. There's things they call safeties so that if it drops, it doesn't shoot.
That's what this is. If you see,
so the Glock has
pokes out there,
4 things they call safeties. But go on.
Well, I only know of the one.
Yeah.
It's this little thing right here. Like I'm trying to pull the trigger right now. I'm pulling it with a lot of force, but my finger's not square onto that little nub that's sticking out. So only when I depress that nub will it actually go off. So
So there's not like a safety switch like I have on my airsoft rifle.
you can get a safety on these. I know aftermarket. For all I know, maybe they've come up with a new model recently that does. But as far as I know, it's kind of an aftermarket thing that you can apply to these and get a thumb.
Now I understand why people can accidentally shoot themselves if they don't have like a safety switch. But I also understand the kind of ass backwardsness that a safety switch would have in a dangerous situation.
And then on a gun like 1911, you've got a couple of them. So this one's not ambidextrous. My safety's over here, and it sort of.
That's what I'm thinking of when I think of a safety.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also got my little palm safety back here. So right now, we are clear. I'm trying to pull the trigger, and the safety is off. Like any other pistol would fire right now, but not unless I'm gripping the gun and wanting to shoot it. If we were if you were fighting for my gun, or we were doing this, the gun can't go off. It's only when the palm safety is depressed back here that it'll shoot. And then with something like the HK, it's got an ambidextrous safety there that flips up, flips down. And like I said, ambidextrous means both sides. Actually, no, this one is not it. I took it off. And
I wish.
and you got to when this one the feature is if I pull down on the safety, the hammer will drop and I can decock it. So it's got a decocking thing.
You have one of these, right, Kyle? The SIG P226.
That's one of the ones that I don't have. I never got one of those. I like them a lot though.
So the Glock,
Yeah,
they have.
it's got only like a decocker. There's no safety at all. It's just
Nice.
which I don't know if I like that much.
There's a
after
firing
having it for a
pin
while.
safety. I'm trying to get this out. There's a trigger safety and then 2 internal safeties, a firing pin safety and a drop safety on the Glock. Neither of which fit what I always called safeties.
Just the flick of the switch on the
Yeah,
side.
the thing that stops the
Yeah.
trigger from pulling. You
Right.
know,
In my head, the idiot-proof one.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about.
That's
I don't
fine.
mind not having a safety on a Glock. I like knowing that, like, if I grab a Glock, it's hot. You know, it's ready to go. I've never had an accidental discharge, so like, you know, stuff that works for me maybe doesn't work for the general population and other people. I'm just super, super serious about not pulling the trigger unless, you know, I want to.
It's a good rule
then
of thumb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I don't
And then,
trust
you know-
other people as much as I trust you, though, so I'm happy to have that.
But then with something that's a double action, which means that I can either make it complete the hammer pull and the cylinder rotation with just the trigger, or I can if you notice the trigger's position now,
Uh-huh.
as I cock it, all of that slack is taken up. So now I have a much hairier trigger, a much more sensitive trigger. So now it's a very light squeeze to drop the hammer, whereas when it was down, it's. I like
makes
that
sense.
because, you know, if it's sitting on a nightstand, I'd keep it like this. But if it's all right, where's this fucking bad guy at? You know, I think I'd want it like this.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
Pistol talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
should come up with a gun talk song.
I was excited about the local gun show that's like shucks this weekend maybe. But I'm reading more and more, not a good place to get deals.
What, gun shows in general?
Yeah. Unless it's some, you know, used thing where maybe you find a bargain, but
You should buy a used gun anyway. Like, what's the difference?
probably right.
I bought that one's used. That one's used. Yeah, about half my guns were used. I like used guns. Like, if there aren't any scratches on it that I don't like, then it's good. Like you know, there's no. You can shoot the barrel out of a gun, but it takes thousands of rounds in a lot of cases. In a handgun or something, you know, with a competition rifle, they talk about really short barrel lives and stuff like that. You're shooting high velocity ammunition or what have you. But with a handgun, like the odds that some guy who had this pistol with no scratches on it before me put 10,000 rounds through it seems a little low. So I'm always happy to get a used gun.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Fast break.
Smart purchases.
Well, I think that's a show.
Okay then. Tucker, pimp something Twitch.